Everyone, welcome to this new video. In this video, we are going to continue our series on Bhagavad Gita, and this is part 3. So we have discussed in the last sloka was Arjuna, the wise man, to whom pain and pleasure are alike, whom is not tormented by these contacts, become eligible for immortality. These were the things that we discussed in the last video. Now we will continue this video. So last video we discussed few things, so let's revise a little bit all of this what we just learned in the last video. So in last video we learned a lot about how this Krishna was discussing with Arjuna, and he was having issues in the war and all the things that he was uh, fighting for and things that he was going through and all these things that you can see on your screen. So the hell and heaven was a question for him. The question was, how do I fight my own siblings, relations, uncles, maternal uncle, granduncles, great grandfathers? How do I continue this, participate in this war? You can see in this image here. How do I? He was in between the two big armies, and with white horses, Krishna was leading his chariot towards the war ground. And all the great people that we just discussed in the last video that were part of the army of Duryodhana and also the part of army of Yudhishthira. So they were very educated, as we discussed. They were great fighters, great warriors, and they were uncontrolled, undefeated, and many a times invincible in their own sense. But the question remains why the war is supposed to be happen, because if for all this war the result is death, so Arjuna is like, if I kill everyone for this palace, for this kingdom, what will be the benefit? All these people were the people that I once grew up with. All this wealth will be of no meaning if I just kill everyone and destroy my own people that I lived with, I grew up with. So, what will be the benefit? So, that is the question. That, that is the question here. The question is, should he continue the war with his own people, which results in the corruption of women, which results into death, which results into breaking of the caste system, like the pharaoh, the vizier, you can see here, the scribe, the skilled person, the peasant, the servant, all these caste system will get destroyed. Will everybody will be living in hell for years and years and years because of the sins of killing their own fathers or great grandfathers for just a throne? That is the question in the mind of Krishna. Krishna is asking this question. Is this question because at the end of the day, you remember that Krishna has a question in his mind. Arjuna has a question in his mind towards Krishna, like that. If I kill everyone and get this kingdom, for whom did I want this kingdom for? Because all of these relations are people that I knew, people I grew up with. So Krishna is now trying to tell him that even that you know these people, a great soul of a saint, of a teacher, always remember that human life is, you can see here, is full of complications, and it is not in the control of a human person to control life. It is just one has to react accordingly to the situation. So once you were a young baby, now you are adolescent, then you grow, become a man, then you once you become a man, you get married, you have kids, then you get old, and this is it. This is life. So you have not control. You have no control over life. You can just react. So a great soul, a great soul's warrior, a warrior with great soul should not really bother about all these kind of things. One should rather focus on what are the things that may come in just moments rather than what is going to happen in years and years ago, years and years coming. So let's go back and see what we have to discuss, and we'll go back to the Gita. So here is we continue. The unreal has no existence, and the real never ceases to be. The reality of both has thus been preserved by the seeds of the truth. So here, Krishna is again trying to emphasize that unreal has no existence. So the soul really doesn't exist, never ceases to be. The existence is merely punishment for the soul to be in a body, thus been perceived by the seeds of truth. So the reality of both has thus been perceived by the seeds. So intelligent people know that the soul doesn't really have to stay on a stop. It is just continuously traveling from one body to other body. So there is no relation for the soul. Know that alone, why it is said here alone, to be imperishable, which pervades this universe. For no one his power to destroy this indestructible substance. Know that. आपको ये जानना चाहिए. In Hindi it says, you should know that to be imperishable, which pervades this universe, for no one has word to destroy this indestructible. So what is Krishna is trying to emphasize here is that soul is something that can never be destroyed because it never existed. So you are a soul, you are not a body. So if you consider yourself a body, you are not intelligent, you are not a warrior, you are not educated. So consider yourself a soul. All these bodies pertaining to be imperishable, indefinable, eternal soul are spoken of as perishable. Therefore, Arjuna, fight. So what he's saying to Krishna is teaching Arjuna. Let's see some images. So here, Krishna is teaching Arjuna that the soul that you have is sort of something that is imperishable. The soul that you carry is unbreakable. It doesn't really exist in a body. It has to go from one body to the other body. And no matter how many bodies it changes, it has to get into a new body. So don't stop. Go for a war. Go for the fight. Don't think who's your relation, who is not your relation. At the end of the war, you are just a soul, which is indestructible. It is not easy to sort of destroy the soul. They are both ignorant. He who knows that the soul to be capable to killing, he who talks as killed. For whereas the soul neither kills nor destroyed. So here, what it means that so there's two concepts here. What Krishna is saying that ignorance is when you think that you are capable of killing the soul. Ignorance also is when you think that the soul is killed. For intelligent, the soul neither kills nor is killed. So the soul can never be killed. It is neither killed and it can never kill anyone because it is something that is eternal. So this is what Krishna is saying here. The soul is never nor dies, never born, never dies, nor does it become only after being born. For it is unborn, eternal, everlasting, and ancient, even though the body is slain, the soul is not. So here you can see that Krishna says the soul is never born. It is never born, so it can never die. Nor does it become only after being born. For it is unborn, eternal, everlasting, and ancient, even though the body is slain, the soul is not. So he's saying that the soul can never be born, it is never born. So he's saying that the soul is eternal, everlasting, and ancient. So it can never be slain by a body. That's what it means. The soul can never be slain by a body because it is eternal, everlasting, and ancient, and it is never born. So if something isn't born, how come it could die? Arjuna, the man who knows the soul to be imperishable, eternal, and free from birth and decay, how and who will he cause to be killed, and how whom will he kill? Now he is teaching Arjuna that the man who knows his soul to be imperishable, eternal, and free from birth and decay, how and who will he cause to be killed, or how and who will he kill? So basically, he's trying to tell that if you understand the concept that the soul is never born and it never dies, so the Arjuna, the man who knows the soul to be imperishable, eternal, free from birth, decay, and how. So basically, if the soul Arjuna is confirming from Arjuna that Arjuna, if you know the concept that we just discussed in earlier shloka that the soul is never born, it is imperishable, eternal, and free, how and who will he cause killed? How and how he caused to be killed? Like how can the soul be killed? Can you answer the question? If something isn't born, how come the soul can be killed? How and who will he kill? How and whom he will he kill? If the soul is not born, how and whom will he kill? And he caused to be killed. Like what would be the cause to kill something that is never born? So it is something that you have to understand. You are a soul if you are intelligent enough to understand this. As a man shedding worn out garments takes other new ones, likewise the embodied soul casting off worn out bodies enter into others which are new. So basically he's saying that a man, just like shedding garments, the ones like a shedding garments takes other new ones. Likewise, the embodied soul casting off worn out bodies enters into others and were new. So basically, just like a person changes clothes, similarly, an individual, the soul changes the body. So there is nothing like being killed or being dead. So Arjuna is now sort of trying to understand the life and the mystery surrounding life, the concept of soul, how soul is eternal, free, and imperishable, and it can never be born because it is existing since eternity and it can never die. So he's now getting a little bit of confidence we are seeing in the story. Now he's seeing that the soul is never born, it can never be killed, and the strength is coming to Arjuna, and he's now becoming sort of intelligent or more aware about the things that he's supposed to do in the warfare. Let's go to the next shloka. Weapons cannot cut it, nor can fire burn it. Water cannot wet it, nor can wind dry it. For this soul is incapable of being cut. It is proof against fire, impervious to water, undeniable as well. This soul is eternal, omnipresent, immovable, constant, and everlasting. Here, again, the emphasis is that the soul is omnipresent, immovable, constant, and everlasting. And for this soul is incapable of being cut. It is difficult to cut it. It is proof against fire. It cannot be burned with the fire. It is impervious to water. Water cannot make it impervious, cannot previously it. It is impervious. It is undeniable as well. So these are the things associated with the soul. Let's go ahead. And this soul that we are discussing is unmanifest, it is unthinkable, and it is spoken of as immutable. Therefore, knowing this as such, you should not grieve. And Arjuna, if you should suppose this soul to be subject to constant birth and death, even then you should not grieve like this. So here the emphasis from the side of Krishna is that even if Arjuna thinks that the soul is something that is, if the soul is subject to constant birth and death, even then you should not grieve like this. You should not be grieving. He is very much into grief. I don't know why, because he's thinking that these are his relations, but they are against him. You have to understand the fact. For in that case, death is certain for the born, and rebirth is inevitable for dead. You should not therefore grieve over the inevitable. That's what something has. Krishna is emphasizing that for in that case, death is certain. Death is certain. Death cannot be avoided, is certain for the born, and rebirth is inevitable. Rebirth has to happen. So if death is something that you cannot control and rebirth is inevitable for the dead, you should not therefore grieve over the inevitable. So why are you grieving that on one day I will die? It is true fact that one day everybody will die. That's the true sense. Death is inevitable and rebirth is also inevitable. Death is the true reality. Everybody once one day will get old and die. And the same point of in the same sense, rebirth is inevitable. One who dies has suppose is definitely gonna get reborn. Arjuna before birth being are not manifest to our human senses. At the death they return to the unmanifest again. They are manifest only in the in turn between birth and death. What occasion then for lamination, for the lamentation? So basically, what he's trying to say is that Arjuna, before birth, beings are not manifest to our human sense. Like human senses are something that we, after the birth, start to get addicted to. But if before birth, there is no human sense. They are manifest only in the in turn between birth and death. What occasion then or for lamentation? So basically, saying you are controlled by the five senses. Now you are creating a reason that these five senses are associated to certain people, and I cannot kill them, even if they are bad. So the question is that five senses that you have currently, you only got them once you were born. They are between birth and death. They are not eternal, but the soul is eternal. It is free. It is imperishable. Hardly anyone perceives this soul as marvelous scars. Another likewise speaks therefore as marvelous, and scars. Another hears of it as marvelous, while there are some who know it not even on hearing of it. Hardly anyone perceives the soul as marvelous. So rarely people perceive this soul as to be marvelous. Scars. Another likewise speaks therefore as marvelous, and scars another hears of it as marvelous. While there are some who know it not even on hearing of it. So many people call it marvelous. Some people perceive it to be uh, useless, because even after you tell them, teach them, they really are not much interested in this. They are like, why do I care? Why should I care? Arjuna, this soul dwelling in the body of all can never be slain. Therefore, you should not mourn for anyone. Besides considering your own duty, too, you should not waver, for there is nothing more welcome for a man of the warrior class than righteous war. So basically, he's saying that you should war. It is not the body, and the body that you are in is all five senses, and these five senses you only got once you got birth. After the birth, you didn't really got before birth. You really didn't have these kind of senses. It's just after the birth that you had these senses. And after the birth, you have these senses. These senses causes one to be emotional, one to be attached to certain people. So don't be a slave to these senses. Overcome these senses and accept the fact that no one is really yours. You are independent, you are free. There is nothing great for a warrior rather than a righteous war. So focus on righteous war rather than any other thing. There, the soul is imperishable. You can see in this image, once it is born, one get old, young, and then dies and goes to the universe. The soul is eternal. You can see in this image, the soul is eternal. It is imperishable. It cannot be killed. It is marvelous. rarely, and a person like as intelligent as Arjuna, as a warrior class Arjuna, how come he don't accept the fact that the soul is imperishable? The soul is imperishable. It is cycle of birth and death for the soul. So that is it. Let's go back to the shlokas. We are discussing about soul and how it is imperishable. Arjuna, happy are Kshatriyas who get such unviolated opportunity for war, which opens the door to heaven. So we just seen the door to heaven, if you remember. We seen a door to heaven. So the door to heaven you can see here. Now, if you refuse to fight this righteous war, then shrinking your duty, losing your reputation, you will incur sin. Now the question is that now you have understood that the soul is imperishable. You have understood that the soul can never be killed because it's never born, and the soul cannot be cut because it is never created. It can never, the fire cannot burn it, the water cannot make it wet, and all the five senses that are the cause of relations are between birth and death. So now the question is, did you understand that it is all merely a test for you? So this is what it is all about, and you are a warrior class individual. There is a focus on war. Don't focus on any other thing. Now, if you refuse to fight this righteous war, like this righteous war, then shrinking your duty, then striking your duty, losing your reputation, you will incur sin. So the for warriors, their reputation is all. So if you don't get into war, if you're not gonna go for war, and this righteous war is you gonna avoid it and substitute it with some kind of reasons, then you will incur a sin. You are a warrior class. You are born in the warrior class. People will also pour undying infamy on you. You will be infamed by the people. Infamy brought on men enjoy popular esteem is worse than death. So, if living a life with infamy is more bad than death itself, because death is, you have to understand, life is all about respect, pleasures. So, if infamy comes to you, how come you gonna live this life? And the warrior chief who thought highly of you will now despise you, thinking that it was fear who drove you from the battle. That's what it's all about. If you run away, you can you live with that fact that people will always call you that because of fear you drove away from the battle. All the warrior chief will laugh at you and despise you. This is what is going to happen, and your enemies, disparaging your might, will speak many unbecoming words. And what can be more distressing than this? So, are you going to let your enemies speak unbecoming words for you? Will you allow them to do so? Let's go. Die and you will win heaven. Conquer, you enjoy sovereignty of the earth. Therefore, stand up, Arjuna, determined to fight. Let's go to the next. Treating alike victory and defeat, gain and loss, pleasure and pain. Get ready for fight, then fighting, thus you will not incur sin. So if you fight, you will not incur sin. But if you run away, that there will be unbecoming words for you by the other warrior chief. And will you really take those unbecoming words? Are you that much uh, into grief that you will accept a life with unbecoming words and being called as a coward? Arjuna, this attitude of mind has been presented you from the point of view of Jana Yoga. Now, here the same as presented from the standpoint of Karma Yoga. So, Jana Yoga is something that from the point of view which we discussed this whole concept. Now, we'll discuss this concept from Karma Yoga. The yoga of self-action. Equipped with this attitude of mind, you will be able to throw off completely the shackles of karma. In this path, there is no loss of effort. There is no loss of effort, nor this their fear of contrary result. Even a little practice of this save one from the terrible fear of the birth and the death. Arjuna, in this yoga, the intellect is determinate and directed seeingly and towards one ideal, whereas the intellect of the undecided wanders in all directions after innumerable sins. So Arjuna, this in this yoga of disinterested action, the intellect is determinate. The intellect is determinate and directed singly towards one ideal, where the intellect of the undecided, ignorant man, moved from by desire, wand in all directions, wand in all directions after innumerable aims. So, if you focus on, see, now Jana Yoga, from which we discussed so far, now we'll discuss with the perspective of Karam Yoga. Arjuna, in this yoga of disinterested action, the intellect is determinate and directed singly towards one ideal, whereas the intellect of the undecided, ignorant men moved by desires wander in all directions after innumerable aims. So, first you have to understand that you have how many aims. Are you focusing on one thing, or you are just like an ignorant man focusing on innumerable aims, and your soul and your intellect will be wandering into multiple directions? You are a warrior man. You have a warrior individual. You have to be determinate. You have to direct your mind singly towards one ideal. Do not focus on various aims. This is what it is focusing Karma Yoga. Arjuna, those who are full of worldly desires, those who are full of worldly desires and devoted to the letter of the Vedas, who look upon heaven as the supreme goal and argue that there is nothing beyond heaven, are unwise. They utter flowery speeches recommending many ritual of various kinds for the attainment of pleasure and the power, with rebirth as their fruit. Those whose mind are carried away by such words and who are deeply attached to pleasure, worldly power, cannot attain the determinate intellect concentrated on God. So basically, here what it means that Arjuna, those who are full of worldly desires and devoted to the letter of the Vedas, look upon heaven as a supreme goal, and there is nothing beyond heaven, are unwise. They utter flowery speech recommending many rituals of various kinds for the attainment of pleasure and power, with the rebirth as the fruit. Those whose minds are carried away by such words, who are deeply attached to pleasure and worldly power, cannot attain the determinate intellect concentrated on God. Arjuna, the Vedas thus deal with evolutes of three gunas: worldly enjoyment and the means of attaining such enjoyments, be though indifferent to those enjoyments and their means, rising above pairs of opposite likes, pleasure and pain, establishment in the eternal existence, absolutely unconcerned about the supply of wants and the preservation of what has been already attained, and self-control. So here, Arjuna, the Vedas thus deal with evolutes of three gunas: worldly enjoyments, the means of attaining such enjoyments, and be though indifferent to these enjoyments, their means rising above Pairs of opposite like pleasure and pain establish the eternal existence, absolutely unconcerned about the supply of wants and the preservation of what has been already attained, and self-controlled. A Brahman who has obtained enlightenment has the same use for all the Vedas. One who stands at the brink of sheet, water overflowing on all the sides, has for small reservoir of water. Like he's saying that a Brahmana who has obtained enlightenment has the same use for all the Vedas as one who stands at the brink of a sheet of the water overflowing on all the sides of a small reservoir of water. Your right is to work only, but never to get the fruit, therefore, but not instrumental in making your action bear fruit, nor let your attachment to be in action. Arjuna, perform your desired duties established in the yoga, renouncing attachment. So basically, he's trying to say you should not be attached. Detachment is the thing. In Vedas also, it is said that the purpose of life, there are only three gunas. One has to focus on these three gunas: worldly enjoyments, the means of attaining these enjoyments, and rise above your oppositions, pair of opposition like pleasure and pain. So avoid pain and pleasure, find means to attain worldly desires, and try to understand worldly enjoyments. At the same time, you are being attached. Why? What is the purpose of attachment? Don't be attached to the fruit. Never be attached to the fruit, but be instrumental in making your actions bear the fruit. You have to be instrumental in making your action resulting in fruit giving activities, but you can never expect fruit, because in that case you are attached. That will cause pain. You have to understand the soul is eternal, the soul is imperishable and free. Now let's move to the next page. Arjuna, perform your duties established in yoga, renounce attachment, and even tempered in success and failure. Evenness is tempered, called is yoga. So the basically, what is yoga? What is jana yoga? What is jnana yoga? What is karma yoga? Yoga here means evenness of the temper. Even if you are failed, you should continue to work. Even if you have taken an axe and you are cutting a tree, even if you for the 7 days you cut the tree and you are not able to cut the tree, you should come on the eighth day, that there will be someday then the tree will be cutted. If you are climbing a mountain and you fail multiple times, you have to try until you reach the peak of the mountain. That's what it means to be even in failure and success, and that is what called yoga. So this is it. I hope you like video. In this video, we covered uh, how Karma Yoga is all about being unattached, how soul goes through various stages in life, and yet one has to be unattached to anything, and the gate to heaven for Arjuna. So the soul, it's all about the soul of, and a great warrior should always fight. If you run away from the war, people will always call you an idiot who ran away from the war and who was someone that was a coward. And you have to, there is a perspective of Jana Yoga. Then the perspective of Karma Yoga came in. The perspective of Karma Yoga was about how there is one has to work hard for getting something, but not have to be bothered about the failure and being even in the failures and the success. This is what all this chapter was all about. If you like the video, don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next video. This was part 3. In the next video, we'll discuss part 4 of the Bhagavad Gita. Till then, thank you. I hope you like the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. In the description, in the description below, you will see the playlist, and you will see all the part 1 and part 2 videos. If you like the video, don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next video. Till then, thank you.